Hi, welcome to another episode on the composition of my piano quintet. Last week I showed you the composition of the two sections that lead to the finale, which, as I said in the previous video, I want to be loud and aggressive, just like the first section. You're watching me trying my first idea. I've been hearing it in my mind since I finished the previous section. Chords repeated in eighth note triplets in the right hand of the piano, and a short motive in the left hand that reminds me of bells. At the same time, the violins will play arpeggios in sextuplets, while the viola and cello will play repeated chords, also in sextuplets, an idea that comes from the first section. I'm not convinced with the result, so I copy it and paste it to the side to try a slightly different approach. All the strings will play a single chord repeated in sextuplets, using all the notes in the set. This copy and paste thing is something I normally do when I want to try another idea. Other programs allow you to save different versions of the score, but even if Dorico had that feature, I'm not sure if I would use it. I'm so used to doing this that it would be hard to get used to doing it any other way. The hairpins on the strings are longer in this version, but the piano is identical. In general, it's the same idea, and I'm still not convinced. This is completely normal. Not always your first idea is the one that remains, but you should keep trying until you are sure that you must take a different path. Here I'm trying to introduce imitations of the left-hand motif on the strings, and at this point I have to say I'm very frustrated. The section sounds good, but it's not what I want. It has a somewhat cinematic character. It would be great for a movie, but this is concert music. The next day, I finally decide that the left-hand motif should go. It just doesn't work. What I want is something a little more abstract. I keep the triplets in the right hand, but substitute the left-hand part with chords in plain eighth notes. I doubt for a moment if the viola and the cello should have a rhythm based on 16th notes or quarter notes, and finally stick with the latter, only that I write them as eighth notes. I'm finally convinced. This idea is much more interesting. There are 4 planes, so to speak, grouped into 2 pairs, and each pair has opposite dynamics. The first pair is on the strings, one part on the violins in sextuplets, and the other on the viola and cello in quarter notes. The second pair is on the piano. The opposing dynamics between the hands will be quite difficult for the pianist, I have to admit. I've tried to play them myself and have been barely able to do so, but I'm not exactly a very gifted pianist, you know? I'll keep them for the moment, and when the time comes to perform the piece, I'll see if what I ask is really feasible or not. Each string instrument, as well as each hand on the piano, breaks its repeating pattern at different points and jumps to another chord or diet. Through this oblique movement between the parts, the register progressively shrinks. At the same time, the dynamics also contract progressively. Just before the end, the piano makes an unexpected crescendo and ends with a series of simultaneous chords in both hands. The whole section makes me think of a wind-up toy that gradually loses energy as the spring becomes more and more loose. In the end, it makes one last attempt to keep moving, but eventually stops. It even has a final ritardando, as you would expect in such a case. A tricky detail in this type of idea is finding the right number of measures to develop it. Too many and it will be boring. Too few and it will seem unconvincing. In a sense, I have to let the idea stop on its own, just like I would with a wind-up toy. I don't think it's necessary for you to see the whole process. I'll leave you with a playback of the complete section starting from the previous one, so that you can see how one leads to the other. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. See you in the next episode. Ciao.